very happy to be here and give an update on what's going on with Antino and with Founders. We've had a lot of big things happen, in the past few months and over the course of 2025. Consolidated the stock a bit, and I think we've put ourselves in a really good position to see some big movement this year. So I'll get into it. Of course, we're making some forward-looking statements as we go through. So to step back, though, I always like to start with just, I think for Guyana Shield explorers, this is maybe a bit of a cliche graph or chart, but it's really important for people to understand the prospectivity of this area. And I think there's been a big migration of capital out of West Africa, and it's really driven a lot of interest in the Guyana Shield. And we see that with strategic investors, B2 Gold and Gold Fields coming on to the Founders roster over the last couple of years. And then there's just a lot of general interest in the area and opportunity for some really major discoveries throughout the Guyana Shield. And in particular, where we're located here in Suriname. So Suriname presents a really unique opportunity for explorers. There's traditionally not been a lot of modern exploration in this area, and there's a lot of very exciting greenstone belt land available to folks. And we've recently increased our land package from 20,000 hectares. In November, we upped that to 56,000, and we've got some goals for this year to increase that still. And consolidating that ground, having that single unified, large land area really gives us potential for developing, exploring for and ultimately developing a mine or multiple mines that lead to generational timelines in terms of gold production. We're a little different than the usual junior as well. We still run all of our own drills right from day one. We purchased a couple of diamond rigs out of the gate. We now have 6 drill rigs belong to Founders, and from top to bottom, supply chains all our own. That's led to under $250 Canadian all in for drill meter or drill costs, and that's been a big part of our success, is being as capital efficient as we can be as we explore a very large area. Overall pro-mining jurisdiction, Zijin has the Rosebell mine that's effectively an institution in country, over 20 years there, and then Newmont runs the Marion mine that's been going since 2016. So a long history of gold mining, and down in the southeast where we are, gold was discovered in the late 1800s, and so you're looking at many generations of that sort of on the ground, initially kind of artisanal, small scale, alluvial type mining. So we're always happy to take that first order information where we can and build from it. We are in a very target-rich environment, and I'll get into some of that. And again, I mentioned the other parts there. So, quick corporate snapshot. Really grown over the last couple of years in terms of analyst coverage, and as has the overall roster. Had some folks in very early dynamic funds, 1832 at Toronto, and then BlackRock coming in as a strategic investor in the earliest days. But that side of the equation has grown. We've got a lot of very high quality institutional investors that are part of the story, and then added B2 Gold, and now in just this past fall, Gold Fields to the roster as well. And that's kind of more to the point of folks really seeing the Guyana Shield and Suriname as an up-and-coming jurisdiction. Share price, I mentioned we consolidated a bit. I think it was good for the stock, and we're in a really good spot to take the exploration piece to the next step here next year. Well-financed, over $50 million cash in the bank, 15 million shares outstanding, and pretty clean structure. So the expanded concessions. So the original Antino concession was this 20,000 hectare or 200 square kilometer concession. We've made 5 discoveries on that since we started in the second half of 2023. And there's a number of those intervals that go along with those discoveries that I've got listed here. And I think pretty much any one of these would have a geologist anywhere pretty excited. And the scale, I think, is always an issue when you're presenting a map on a screen. And the scale's a big thing. Like, there's 6 kilometers between Upper Antino and Boise, a couple of our more advanced targets. We just put news out on Lower Antino. That's 3.5 kilometers from Upper Antino. And so this is a big district scale land package. And so we really are looking at exploring for and developing a full, complete gold camp. Those discoveries are many kilometers separated apart, and each would be their own individual project or company in many similar jurisdictions globally. And so it's a really good example just of the prospectivity in the overall gold system in this area, and is exceptionally underexplored, particularly in the new concession. So that addition is a big changer, changes things for us founders quite a lot. We came into a substantial historical data set that's provided us with some early targets that we're going to be able to get to by the end of Q1 here, or early Q2, and that include, up here, this 5-kilometer historical auger anomaly. That's the largest auger anomaly on the entire package, and that's never been drill tested. And then to the north, these are actually some of Founder's samples, up to 70 grams per ton in 8, 10 plus meter wide shear zones, from surface. We're in a spot now where it's first order exploration. You can stub your toe on these things because there's not been anyone out there exploring. And that's a really exciting part of the whole story. Just jumping quickly into the concession where we've done the most work, so we're just getting going on the new exploration stuff. The majority of our work has been focused on Upper Antino here, and then intermediate targets for us, we've got 10,000 or so meters each, is Lower Antino and Buese. And then as we go further out to east in this direction, we get into some pretty greenfields, grassroots stuff, where we still had a lot of success with the drill, and expect to do more work on this year, not just on the new concession stuff. So getting into Upper Antino and kind of, I think, what's the backstop evaluation for us right now as well is, we've had over 2,500 gram meter products come out of exploration work and growth here at Upper Antino. So this is where we started in 2023. Last year alone, we expanded things by about 45% in terms of the total footprint of mineralization. And what we're really excited for this year is actually this line here that's the new concession. And so as you can see, we pretty much drilled right up to the edge. Okay, one of those holes might have snuck across, but it started over here. And these are historic augers and some channel sample trenching work that we weren't able to cross that line. And so we've got drills on that kind of from day one here in January, and really looking forward to the expansion potential that being able to now drill across that imaginary line represents for us. And we're pretty excited about what comes out of that drilling. So quick scale piece too, Upper Antino, we're about 2.5 kilometers total of mineralized trend or system, and then we see a lot of opportunity for potential additional parallel systems into that northwest piece. We just put news out on Lower Antino, so I included here. This is about 3.5 kilometers from Upper Antino. So if I were to go back, the airstrip right here winds up being, it's maybe hard to see on the screen, but be right over here. So these two things are about 3 kilometers apart, and Lower Antino has really grown for us. We just put out interval of 90 meters of right at a gram. We had 81 meters was our third hole there of around the same. And what we see at Lower Antino is really excellent grade consistency. We've got preserved 50 meters of oxide with some excellent historic auger sample numbers that come through that down about 25 meters. And so there's a real potential here for kind of combining Upper Antino, this Lower Antino piece, into a future mine development plan. I think when I compare it to the Upper Antino grades and things, we typically see lower grade numbers. I've been told not to say that. It's Aussie high grade is the new terminology, but we're very encouraged by the scale here and the opportunity for very low strip from surface mineralization with that kind of free dig, easy access oxide material in particular. So just quickly coming back to this slide to touch on a couple things for what we have coming up in 2026. A big one for us is continuing to consolidate the area in the region. We see very kind of near-term pathway to bringing ourselves to that 1,000 square kilometer land package size, and that's all greenstone. And this is an area where there's enough artisanal mining where you do get you have that primary evidence that there's that gold system in place, and when you have that sort of land package, the opportunity for systematic exploration through entire property-wide geochemical surveys. We have a massive airborne geophysical survey that's underway right now that's going to touch on all that area. These sorts of data sets are what are going to drive exploration and growth in 2026. And we're looking at upwards of 70,000 plus meters. We have capacity to do a lot more than that, but that's what we're targeting right now. And yeah, thanks very much.